Pronominal suffixes. Okay, we're about to embark on a very large discussion of pronominal suffixes. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on this. Now, if you remember, when we dealt with personal pronouns, we dealt with independent personal pronouns. And just before I talked about that, I introduced pronouns in general, and I said there's two basic types. I said there are the independent types, which are the independent personal pronouns that we already dealt with, like hu and he, ata, at, ani. Remember those? And then there are the suffix forms. So independent forms that are standalone words, and then the suffix forms. What we're dealing with now are the suffix forms. They're generally called pronominal suffixes. So pronominal suffixes. And there's lots of them, or they are everywhere, I should say. They attach to many different things. You have pronominal suffixes on le and b. Okay. Remember, le and b are the prepositions. We had le, b, and k. But le and b are prepositions, inseparable prepositions. They also attach to things. But pronominal suffixes attach to these, and that's what we're going to deal with in this chapter. So chapter 13 of Ross, which is what we're following, our text, deals with these. Now, nouns, they can also attach to nouns. I just want to give you a roadmap here of where we're going. Nouns, and Ross deals with those in 14 and 15, both chapters, almost exclusively devoted to pronominal suffixes on nouns. Then in chapter 16, we'll, as just a small part of 16, we'll have pronominal suffixes on et. Remember et, the definite direct object marker, or the sign of the accusative? Et or eight. So we'll have it attached to those. Then we'll take a break for a bit. Min and ki, we'll see them attached to min, which we've already seen. We've seen min, that is. Actually, there's no Dagesh-Leni in there, is there? Mem is not a Bagad Kafat letter, but k is, or kaf is. So min and ki, we'll see pronominal suffixes on those in 21. And then in 22, we'll see it on a verb form called the infinitive construct. 23, we'll see it on some particles we'll deal with later. And 24, we'll see it on verbs, a big chapter on pronominal suffixes on verbs. So you can see that pronominal suffixes are used an awful lot in Hebrew. They attach to many different types of things: nouns, verbs, prepositions, particles, other sorts of signs like the sign of the definite direct object. So that's, I suppose, good news and bad news. The bad news is that they're kind of everywhere, but maybe that's good news. You learn it once and then you use it in many different places. What I'm going to show you in this chapter is, I'm going to give you the paradigm for pronominal suffixes on le. Now, as we add pronominal suffixes to nouns and these other forms here, they will change a little bit. Some forms will change a little bit, but there will be a resemblance to the basic form. So don't change that much. So I would suggest that you learn the pronominal suffixes on le really, really well, because if you do, then it'll really carry you through an awful lot of material here. So, word to the wise, as we go through here, learn these ones and learn them well. They're really not that hard. And then it'll be pretty clear what's happening here. The details that change won't confuse you in reading. They'll just be things that you may mess up on if you need to reproduce it in writing. But reading, or at least for the most part, there's just a couple things that look a little funny for reading, but of course we'll cover those as we get to them.